here's the base. And you can see how nicely this fitting fits up against here, being I ground a concave shape in it. And again, how tight it fits on the inside so there's no obstructions. I put this upriser on here. This is the inlet tube. The water will go in the bottom and come out and then flush off the top. Alright, some other pieces I made. These were done in some 1/4-inch plexiglass. This is a hanger to make it hang on the back. And there's a support here that supports that tube so that it doesn't get broke off. And the other piece, the top that fits down inside of it. And then this will all get glued on at an elevated level after I put the top half of it in. Another thing that I done when I cut and made this piece up, so you can see where I bent a hook on there so it hooks onto the tank, is the center that I took out of it, I made a support to hold the cartridge or the bag of carbon up off the bottom so the water can be pushed through it. And I cut a hole in the middle of the ring, had to shrink the size of the ring down some, and then I put some legs on it so that it stands up higher than what the inlet tube on the side is attached. So when the water comes in, it'll come in from underneath and up through the center. Okay, this is a little dry fit, just to show you how it hangs on the back of the tank with that lip that I've bent in the plexiglass. This would be the outlet tube. Water will come off the top of the cartridge that's inside and out over and down into the tank. This is the inlet tube. Goes down in the bottom and then up through the cartridge. The inlet tube I'll be cutting off to the proper length, and I'll put 2 elbows on it. Put 1 elbow, short piece of pipe, and another elbow in order to put a power head on it in order to force the water through it. And on the inlet tube I will put an elbow on there and a short piece of pipe in order for the water to run back into the sump. This is the lid, removable. And another look down inside, and as you can see, the flares I made in them pipes lay nicely against the inside, and on the bottom I have the support that the cartridge will rest on. And my plan is to make a cartridge that when the carbon is exhausted, that I can take the cartridge out and just work on it outside and don't have to remove the whole reactor from the sump. Okay, this is the stand that goes inside the carbon reactor that my cartridge sits in. Has legs on it to hold it up so the water can flow in through the bottom, and then this ring here that holds the cartridge that I made up. Here's the cartridge I made up. Drilled holes in the bottom and in the top. I'll fill it up with a few coarse sponges with carbon in between so that it doesn't wash through and get into my system. And this is designed, it fits fairly snugly into this stand so that I don't have trouble with it floating loose inside of the carbon reactor while it's running. Now the stand itself, when I stick it inside the carbon reactor tube, I'm going to seal it in using this here piece of tubing that I'm going to push around the edges. That'll make it seal tight inside the tube so that the water doesn't go around it and is forced through the cartridge that I made. Okay, this is the finished housing for the carbon reactor. You can see I've mounted a pump on there to feed it. Hangs on the side of the sump. Brackets. The next thing I'll do when I'm done here is to water test it to make sure that it doesn't leak and works the way I've planned for it to. Okay, here's the final portion of this video, the leak test. Seems to be completely dry. Powered with the pump. I'm performing this test without charcoal in the cartridge, not wanting to waste charcoal that I have. And I look inside. You can see I put a little zip tie on the top of that cartridge so it's easier to pull up out of there. Now some may ask, being a carbon reactor is so cheap, why build one? Well, part of the reason is I enjoy doing the DIY, as many out there do, and it's the satisfaction you get of building something and having it work the way you've designed and planned for it to. Not everyone will be able to build one just like this. The availability of parts that you have will be different from one person to another, so the steps I gave you here was tips maybe that you can use in a different DIY project